Hey guys, jpsarrireviews here. Now, collecting DC Comics is really fun. There are plenty characters in the extensive lineup of characters throughout the history of DC Comics are amazing. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Justice League, and so on and so on. But there's so many different formats to collect, and of course, sometimes it's hard to choose which format fits our profile. If it's our budget, our space limitations, and also our reading preference. So in this video, I'm going to dissect the same way as I did with Marvel collections, all the different formats and options that you have in the market today and the one that fits better for you. So stay tuned. Well, the best format or the easy format to collect is through single issues. That's a given. That's the classic way to collect comics. You can go to your local comic book shop. DC has a plethora of different issues, modern ones. Every Wednesday there's new releases, so you can go there and just pick up the newer stuff. But also you can go through the dollar bins and collect some of the older runs, and it's very cheap, very affordable, and you can relive the past, the way that the comics were intended, and by just collecting that way. You can do it through the digital route. You can go through Comixology, the DC app that is for Android or for iOS, and you can collect those comics there, and definitely that's an easier way. There's always sales, particularly on Mondays and Fridays, and throughout the month there's different sales, so you can buy issues for $1 digitally as well. The next option is the paper trade backs, the soft covers. The soft covers are easy to come by. They're cheap. They are everywhere. You can go to your local comic book shop. Sometimes they're on special sales. You can also go to libraries, Barnes and Nobles, places like that. You can order online. They're almost everywhere. Every bookstore has them. Even at Walmart, I see some of them sometimes. So definitely that's the easier option to collect comics. And the format is pretty much the size is 10 1/4, which is the standard size throughout all the industry of comics. I do not have any DC soft covers. I have this Captain America Fighting Chance. Well, this is just for Marvel. I'm using this just for size reference. This is special to me. I don't keep those soft covers. I don't collect them. But this was a gift from a friend, Matt of the channel. He sent it to me years ago, so I keep those when people give me stuff. So definitely I have this one. This is just the standard size, the same as DC. So as you can see, it's very easy to maneuver. You can bend them, you can actually destroy them. You don't really waste too much money on them, and that's actually another way, a very cheap alternative to read comics. The next one on this list is the DC Chronicles collection. Now, the DC Chronicles collection was a line of different soft covers, paper trade backs that started in 2005 and lasted until 2013. It was very similar to the DC Archive edition that we're going to talk about it in just a moment. But they were color soft covers, no extra content, and it concentrated primarily on the golden age, silver age of comics. With characters, whether it was Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and The Flash. They were divided into different volumes. And there was another way to collect those old school, all-time classic comics from that bygone era of the golden age and the silver age, and that's another way. You can find them still. They're around. They're very cheap because of course they were discontinued. You can order online. You can go to your local comic book shop. You can still find them even in some thrift stores and bookstores. You can find them there very cheap. So that's another way to collect DC Comics. The next one on this list is a Showcase Presents. The Showcase Presents was a line of soft covers that lasted between 2005 and 2016 that was like the Marvel Essentials. It was black and white, and these were very thick. They could have up to over 500 pages, so which was very large, very similar to Marvel Essentials. And they were also divided into different volumes. It concentrated primarily on the silver age of comics, and they lasted for quite a while. People were very impressed with them. There was another way to collect them. If you really don't care much about color and you want to see things in black and white, that's another way to collect them. They're still around. There are plenty out there. They're also very affordable. They were kind of pricey at some point, but they went down in price. And nowadays you can find them pretty much at your local comic book shop. They sell them very cheap on special sales. You can find them online because they discontinue, of course. But definitely those are great options also to collect comic books. Now, we're moving into the hardcover collections, and we're going to start with DC Archive Edition. Now, the DC Archive Edition is very similar to the Masterworks from Marvel Comics. Now, this is one of the oldest collections from DC. It started in 1989. The last book was published in 2014. It's 10 and a half, so it's very similar to, I would say, again, the same size of the Masterworks or the Premier Editions for Marvel. I'm using this for reference, which is 10 and a half. So it's if you can compare it, they're the same size as the soft covers. The only difference, of course, is the hardback, which makes that a quarter of an inch difference. But the Archive Edition concentrated on the Golden Age and the Silver Age of comics. They were like in different volumes. They printed stuff from DC, from Fawcett, from Charlton Comics, and from Quality Comics, which now are part of DC Comics. So they concentrated on all those classic comic stories. And they also have a lot of content inside, in this case, a foreword and things like that, some extra content. So definitely those are very coveted, and a lot of people like those, and they still, you know, particularly people that grew up in that era, whether it's Golden Age and Silver Age of comics. That's another way to collect. They're not as easier to come by, but you can find them, and some of them might be priced if you go through Amazon, for example, but you can find them in other places a lot cheaper. As we continue with the hardcovers, we have to keep in mind that DC has always been a bit more freewheel in comparison with Marvel in regards to the collections they produce. They're very open, and they don't have a standard per se. They create so many different formats as time goes on. So they have things like the Legends of the Dark Knight, they have the Tales of the Batman, Superman Adventures, they have some runs for Wonder Woman, and these are hardcover options, all of them normally within the same height. They could be between 10 and a half, which is the same as this premiere right here, or they can go all the way to 11 and a quarter. They can be, you know, oversized, very large books, and all of them, they're different. Now, the Legends of the Dark Knight, for example, concentrates on the artists between the Silver Age and the Bronze Age of comics, and it's primarily concentrated on that. Now, Tales of the Batman concentrates also on the writers of this character, Batman. And the same happened with Superman Adventures. They haven't closed those lines. They continue on. Once in a while, they have one book to continue those lines. So they're open. So you're more into the character rather than just collecting, I would say, runs. That's definitely an option. And there's plenty of them. They continue on. They're not expensive. They're affordable. If you have a favorite artist of the Bronze Age, of the Silver Age, that's the perfect format for you. Now, we're moving into a collection, or two collections that I definitely am a big fan of, which is the DC Noir and the DC Unwrapped. Those right here, this is the DC Unwrapped, Batman Hush Unwrapped. I already reviewed this one. I really love this book. But this is 11 and a quarter, which is the same size of an omnibus. This is pretty much an oversized book. And I really love this collection. In this case, the Unwrapped, it's just the pencil work, which is amazing. And it concentrated with a lot of the newer artists. You see people like Jim Lee or Francis Manapul. You see Andy Kubert, Greg Capullo, Tony Daniel. So all the newer artists, all the newer runs are here. So these artists, which are amazing, all you can get to see is just their pencil work. You know, there is really not much on the sense there's no inking. It's just amazing. And of course, the lettering is a little, you know, has the little bubbles, but it's all it is. It's just the pencil work, no inking, no colors, and that's amazing. I love these little books. Now, the noir versions also are great, and primarily concentrates on a lot of Batman stories, of very classic Batman stories. Also, you have The Killing Joke, which technically is more like a Joker story, and Watchmen. All of them, it's just the black and white and no colors at all, but it does have the inking, of course. So those are great options, also very affordable. Again, they're 11 and a quarter, so it's the same height of an omnibus. Another great option in comics is the deluxe edition. The deluxe edition started in 2008 until the present, although it's kind of slowed down a bit because there's a new black label format. We're going to talk about it in just a moment. But the deluxe editions are hardcovers, like this one right here, the New Frontier Deluxe Edition. Really love this one. Has become really hard to come by, really expensive because of Darwin Cook. Of course, after his passing, he really became more famous. Sadly, sometimes some people have to pass away to become even more famous. But in this case, it's the same size again as an omnibus, 11 and a quarter. It has extra content, sometimes has more. or sometimes has less content than I would say the absolutes. But definitely it's a fantastic format. The quality differs. Sometimes they have this one. I like this one, the more kind of paper trade back paper. I think it fits well with this one. Some of them, they have more like the more glossy paper, but definitely those are fantastic options for all of them, you know, for many collections, particularly concentrates on runs or graphic novels. So it is a great option to collect these books. It's very easy. It's a hardcover. It's still a little bit weight, but not as much as an omnibus. Now this brings me to the highly coveted DC Omnibus. Who doesn't love omnibuses? This is a huge book. This is Batman Nightfall. This is volume 2. I still need to review volume 3, so stay tuned for that. But this is definitely a great way to collect books. This is my preferred method of collecting these books, although the reading part might be a bit tricky. But man, these collections are huge, and this is a fantastic way to collect. It replaced the previous editions like Showcase Present, DC Archive Edition, and DC Chronicles. We've been having in 2013, that's when they discontinued many of those softcovers in favor of the omnibuses. But this has been around since 2007. That's when the first omnibuses came out. Marvel was stronger in the way they were producing it for years. They were producing more and more, and that's the reason why they have more omnibuses. But now DC, it's kind of getting into the omnibus craze, and they're producing a lot of omnibuses more, and there's a lot of upcoming omnibuses for the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and Modern Age. So they have it across the board. And now moving to a new territory, we're going into the DC Absolute Edition. And the DC Absolutes are fantastic. In my opinion, are the best DC books in regards to the quality. And also the way the treatment, the stuff that you get, the extra content inside. To me, those are the best ways to read some of these graphic novels or special runs. All of that, I think it's the best way to do it. Now, this is the DC Absolute Danger Girl. Now, this is, people say, well, this is not DC. Actually, it was at some point. This was actually produced by Cliffhanger. The first couple of Absolutes were produced under Wildstorm and Vertigo. And Cliffhanger, an imprint of Wildstorm. And then, of course, they started doing Absolutes for the main DC characters. But they've been doing Absolute editions since 2000. And this is, to me, my favorite Absolute of all time. This is my favorite one, although I have others, but definitely those are super huge. That's 12 and a half. That's the size of the book, and it can go up to 13 inches, close to 13 inches height in this case the slipcase. And as you can see, this is for reference. This is the omnibus, you see, and this is the absolute. These are huge, but I love the fact that you get in this case the slipcase that protects it. Now, moving on with the collections, we're going into what we call the DC Black Label Edition, which is the newest thing. It's the new trend from DC, which technically is the same thing as before, just reprints of old books, now with a new coat of paint. But the content is pretty much the same. It is a collection of softcovers and hardcover books. They vary in sizes. They can go from, in this case, the 10 1/4, which is the same standard as regular softcovers, all the way to 11 1/4, which is the standard size of omnibuses. The only difference in that, on the 11 1/4, for example, with Batman Damn, which is the newest thing, the newest trend from Batman, is that it's the same size as, in this case, are the prestige format, which is the same height as an omnibus, the oversized comic books, but they are wider. So the book itself, in this case, the hardcover collection, is also follows the same format. It is wider. And that's it. It is, I would say, it targets primarily more mature readers, an older crowd, people that are not really into the classic stuff, but more into the graphic novels and the more mature graphic novels. So, and that's what they're doing. But also they're reprinting a lot of well-known collections that we know, like the New Frontier, and so on and so on. You know, a lot of stuff from Grant Morrison, things like that. It reprinting a lot of those special collections. The quality varies. It's the same thing as before, the same reprints. The only thing is that now it has the black label on it on the front page, but it's all collectible it is. Some of them now, for example, they created what they call the DC Modern Classics edition that is part of this new black label. And this one, the first book was just released this year, which is for Watchmen. It comes with a slipcase, but it's the same size as an omnibus, so it's not as huge as in this case, the Absolute. It doesn't have the extra content or the dust jacket. Now, coming to the end of this list, we're going into the one thing that is nothing new, but it's something that it's changing and evolving into something totally different, which is the DC Collectors and Slipcase box sets. Now, they started as soft covers, you know, a box, in this case a slipcase box where they have different volumes inside, and there were, in this case, soft cover at 10 1/4, so it's the regular standard size of any other soft covers. But they did it particularly designed for different characters, whether it was Batman or Wonder Woman, stories like that, all contained in there. But now they're moving into the more hardcover, more collector style, the more high-end type. The price is higher right now. They have the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is on pre-order and is coming out soon. And that one, I think, is priced. The price is going to be set as $350. I'm sure you can get it cheaper when it comes out through different retailers as special offers and stuff like that. But then, of course, that's going to be the price if you go someplace else. And this is the new thing. It's going to set a new standard. This is larger in size. It's 11 1/4, so it's the same size, height, and the same format as Omnibus is. But of course, again, they divide it into different volumes. That's a new thing, and I believe that we're going to see more of this as the years go on. Now, all these collections here are amazing. You know, in one way or another, there's different formats for every single budget, for every single specification, for your own preference, and for your space. There's a lot of ways to collect comics. Now, each format has its pros and cons. You know, the soft covers are easy to maneuver, easy to carry. You don't lose much money with them, but of course they're more easy to, you know, to destroy, so definitely don't last as long. Now, the difference with in this case, the hardcovers that there are more collectible, they're harder, they last longer. In some of those cases, some formats like the Absolutes, or in this case the Omnibuses, are the best way to read some of or collect some of those comics, the best quality possible. Some of them have been remaster. Some people like the remaster, some people don't, but they are the best way to collect them. But also, they're heavier, they're harder to maneuver, they're more expensive, they take more space because of the format, because of the height, the dimensions. So it's important to always keep that in mind. So and you know, you can go the online route, you can go to the digital format. It's another way to do it. I love to read digitally. It's easier for me on a tablet. I find myself more comfortable doing that, but of course, every person is different. You have to choose what's best for you, what it really pretty much benefits your pocket, your space limitations, but also your preference as a reader, as a person. But what do you think? Is there any of these collections that you're a fan of? Are you collecting any of these? Have you collected any of these collections that you dislike? And let me know the reasons why you dislike them, or the reasons why you like them. I would like to hear your opinion. So once again, my friends, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and to subscribe, and to hit the notification button so you're reminded of the next video. My friends, God bless, take care, and I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.